What happens if it's a film that takes place at the same time but isn't a sequel or prequel?
It's a simultanequel.
Okay.
That's good. I
Add
like the way that
to
sounded.
Lexicon. Say it again.
Simultanequel.
Simultanequel.
I can't say that. Simultanequel.
There you go.
There you go. It's also a medicine that might cause diarrhea.
I was going to say it helps you sleep, too.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Critical Breakdown, the podcast where we start at the bottom of Rotten Tomatoes and work our way to 100% fresh. I'm Scott.
And I'm Max, and today we are talking about Man of Steel, rated 55% on Rotten Tomatoes. And we're joined by a very special guest.
Hi, this is Josh.
Josh is known for our artwork. He's also my elder cousin.
He's also
yes.
on our Space Jam episode.
Our Space Jam Bugs Bunny expert.
It was probably the most highly reviewed episode.
Whoa.
And in his free time, he sells houses every now and then. So
Yeah, every now and then. Pretty much all the time now.
So, how you been?
Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm excited to be back. I'm super pumped to just see your faces. So I'm glad that we're Skyping. So there's a little behind the scenes. I came ready with my full Clark Kent gear.
Yeah, and you look good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice.
That was the prop you retrieved before the episode.
Yeah,
right?
I had to get my little crypto doll just
Josh
in case.
is holding up a Crypto the Superdog, just for the audience. All right. Yeah, what has everyone been watching?
Josh, what have you been up to? What have you been watching, man?
Watching, we just finished the third season of the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. And as soon as we finished it, we almost immediately started it back up again because Titus is incredible. He's the breakout star of that show, including Jane Krakowski. I don't know how to say that last name properly, but
I think that's right.
Anytime they're on the screen, anything that either one of them's doing, I just lose it. I'm giggling like a little schoolgirl.
I liked her a lot in 30 Rock, but I think she's like elevated her humor even more in this one.
Yeah, she still looks great.
Oh,
She too.
yeah. But Titus is the reason for that show. I'm behind, but every time I watch it, it's mostly to see what he's doing.
Everything he does. An eye roll, even the way he just smiles. He'll do like a half a smile, and I lose it, man.
Yeah.
I lose it.
I don't know. I need to check on this, but I heard that like once she met him, she knew she had to have him in a show. And
Correct.
So like Tina Fey like wrote him in.
She wrote it as him, and then she had to present it to the producers to actually convince them to, he still had to, he had to record for the role, or what he can read for the role to make sure he got it. And he got it, of course.
That's amazing.
It'd be awkward if she wrote that part for him and then someone else got it.
Yeah.
Like, we really think Chris Tucker's a good fit.
Chris Tucker, well, he's I don't know. What do you mean, man?
Yeah, I was going to say, Chris Tucker from Fifth Element could maybe pull off some of that.
Chris Tucker from Rush Hour.
Titus is way more sassy.
Yeah, I don't watch Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, so I don't know.
You don't?
If you see it,
I tried the first episode, didn't quite get me. There's plenty of other stuff to watch.
Yeah, and you weren't a fan of Super Troopers either, were you?
That's correct. I was not a fan of Super Troopers, your wife's favorite movie, when we watched it on her birthday. In fairness to me, literally everyone else fell asleep.
I was awake.
I doubt that.
I was awake. I kept an eye on you because I was scared you were going to steal our silverware.
Wow.
Mm.
No comment.
This episode is brought to you by Stolen Silverware.
The only way to eat. You been watching anything else?
Other than that,
did you catch Wonder Woman by chance?
I watched Wonder Woman, and I don't want to really comment on it.
Whoa.
I think I went in with extremely high expectations. I'm just going to say Gal Gadot is gorgeous and amazing. I loved everything about her. Yeah. I loved her accent. I loved everything. I loved parts of the movie where I was like getting goosebumps, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. And then there were times where I just wanted the movie to end.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of with you. We talked about it on our last episode, which I'm sure you listened to, so you know our thoughts.
I know everything.
But I have pretty similar thoughts. But we'll kind of leave it at that because it's still a fresh release and people are still seeing it. Max, what have you been watching?
Well, speaking of comedies, like we were just talking about, I dipped back into Arrested Development. It's been a while since I've done a rewatch, so I've just been kind of casually catching up on it. Probably pound for pound my favorite comedy show out there that's ever been written. But
I think it has the most mileage. Like I rewatched it 2 months ago, and it's still great.
The humor, jokes from season 3 are in season 1, the roots to them. Yeah. And I don't know how he planned that well, but it always astonishes me.
Yeah. What is it? Mitchell Hurwitz? Is that
Mitch Hurwitz.
And season 4 caught a lot of flack, but I actually loved it on the rewatch.
I've yet to rewatch 4, but I'm excited about it. And they're working on some more, so that's even more exciting.
Yeah. And it's been announced that season 5 is going to match the style of the first few seasons where the characters are actually together interacting.
There's rumors.
I was going to say, I really enjoyed the 4th season. It's so strange. I think the thing that threw people off was the way that the time frame was.
Yeah.
And to tell you the truth, the first time, I barely could notice that the people weren't in the same spots. They kind of, it's a little obvious that some of them are green screened. I think it's mostly the stuff with Lucille too. And a couple other things, but I loved it all. I mean, I was just laughing.
It's still genius. It's still genius comedy. So no complaints here. But a lot of people didn't like it, which I get it. I loved it. But just like you.
I thought it was less funny on my first watch, but I do like the Job storyline in there a lot. That was probably my favorite thing about it.
Oh, it's incredible.
But I've heard rumors he's going to... Mitch Hurwitz had it recut and is thinking about re-releasing it, but I haven't seen...
Yeah, they said that a long time ago, all together, in order, proper order.
Yeah, in the chronological order. I read Ron Howard did new voiceover for it to make sense.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why it wouldn't be released. But
when they first released some promo images for it, there was images of Buster actually in front of a casket. So I think there were some things that they left out. I think we were actually Lucille 2 was supposed to die, or someone was supposed to be dead. And then they axed it from there, so you could look back and you could see, hey, they never showed this at all. I don't understand why they did, and maybe because it's still open-ended, the mystery of. Oh, spoiler warning if you haven't seen it.
Maybe spoilers.
A couple characters possibly attack someone, and they're covered in blood, and you don't know what happens because of a forget-me-now. Let's just say.
And also, wasn't one of Job's big magic tricks involving him being in a coffin?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So it could be something with that. But a lot of mysteries. A good mystery comedy.
So moving from comedy to drama.
Scooby-Doo? You guys want to talk about Scooby-Doo?
No. I love Scooby-Doo, but somebody else here doesn't. No, but I've been watching The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, yeah. That's weird. It's good.
Have you watched any of it?
Heather was been watching it, and I've been catching some parts. And I refuse to watch it, and then every 5 seconds I'm like, so what's this? What's happening?
Yeah, it's intense.
She's holding him. She's holding the lady's head while she's...
Yeah. That's early release.
So I'm only a couple episodes in. I actually watched another episode last night.
I'm 6 or 7 episodes in.
You're definitely ahead of me.
I'll say it's really good. I'm impressed with how good it is, because I thought maybe it would be good but gimmicky good, where it's they're just trying to make a point, but it's a legit good story with really good filmmaking behind it.
Yeah.
So
hopefully we're heading that way. Hopefully.
I'm mostly impressed with their use of the camera to tell the story as well, which is cool.
Yeah.
A lot of close-ups with things out of focus behind the subject matter, and it's just a lot of really smart camera stuff to build suspense.
It's like M. Night Shyamalanian.
Yeah, with the close-ups. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So it's taking that and using that suspense element that he does well too. And using face reactions. And Elizabeth Moss, I only watched a little bit of Mad Men, so I never got into it.
Yeah.
But her facial reactions are amazing.
Yeah, I was never super fond of her because I didn't watch Mad Men, and she never
really
caught my eye for anything. But she's awesome in this.
Yeah. Just the way she
people
can
loved her.
Roll her eyes and look disgusted with something without even moving her face blows my mind.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of really good actors who had small roles and other stuff. The guy from The Social Network plays the driver.
Is it Mike something?
I would believe whatever you finished that with.
Yeah.
Rory Gilmore.
Alexis Bledel, she's really good in it.
Yeah.
Joseph Fiennes is always good.
Yvonne Strahovski, who is a huge crush of mine, and Chuck.
You were a Chuck fan?
Ooh.
Yeah.
You were like one of the
Babbity Rabbity is in there too.
What?
You don't know Babbity Rabbity?
Isn't that from Harry Potter?
That's from Harry Potter. I was just trying to join the conversation. I'm sorry, guys.
It's okay. It's okay.
And impress you, and I didn't do a good job.
I'm gonna look up Babbity Rabbity later. So.
And the Talking Stump.
Talking Stump. But yeah, so that's a good show.
Yeah.
Scott, what have you been watching besides that?
I haven't been watching much new stuff lately, but I did rewatch Captain America: Winter Soldier the other day. I just wanted something that I could like fall asleep watching, but I didn't fall asleep. It's actually still really good.
Is that streaming or did you purchase it?
I own it.
Nice.
Good job. There's not enough shirtless scenes in there, let's just say.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Just across the board, everyone.
Across the board, everyone.
Yeah.
Nah, I was worried it wouldn't hold up too well because I'm starting to get a little tired of the Marvel formula for these movies. But The Winter Soldier is one of the best ones they've made, I think, and it still holds up really well.
Yeah, it's definitely in my top 3 Marvels.
Yeah.
So.
Really? I think I need to give it another chance because I think the first time I saw it, I enjoyed it, but I just wanted more, I guess. But I'll have to check it out again.
I just think it's like expertly paced.
It's a spy thriller.
Yeah,
that's what
it's
I liked
a spy thriller,
yeah.
and every set piece has just enough downtime between to keep you interested, and then they get to the next thing, and that's just a triumph.
Yeah, I agree.
That was the first Russo brothers when they took over, correct? I think that was their first one.
Yep.
And then they did Captain America, Civil War, and now they're doing the Infinity Avengers, correct? I don't know if it's still 1 or 2 when it comes to that. Because originally it was 2 movies, and then they're like, no, it's going to be 1. And
Avengers of Infinity War, and then they haven't announced the new title.
Yeah.
It was going to be Part 1, Part 2, but they switched it to being just that, and now there's Untitled.
Gotcha.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Sounds artsy. They should just run with it. The Avengers Untitled.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's like Thor just wants to discover the painter inside of him. So.
Oh yeah. Check out this little bitty.
The Vision drops a mixtape.
Fuck yeah.
Oh, I'd watch that. I'd listen to that.
Pure beats. It's just meditation music. So
I would do the robot to that. I'll tell you that.
There he is. He's doing the robot, everyone.
He is.
Still.
I liked it when you said pound for pound. You didn't react at all to my dancing.
No, I pulled the camera out so that you would stop.
I felt like it was just for us.
Yeah.
It was just for you guys.
But it went on a little long.
I'm impressed. You didn't break character, either one of you.
Speaking of going on a little long, today we're talking about Man of Steel.
Well.
That was today's bringer back moment.
I like it. It was good. I'm focused. I'm ready.
Use hashtag on too long with the number 2 to discuss today's bringer back.
Not the episode, just the bringer back.
That's also a Prince song.
Yeah, it should be.
That's how we'll end the episode. Max, what's the plot synopsis for Man of Steel?
Clark Kent, one of the last of an extinguished race disguised as an unremarkable human, is forced to reveal his identity when Earth is invaded by an army of survivors who threaten to bring the planet to the brink of destruction.
I just want to say the idea that Clark Kent is an unremarkable human when his parents are Kevin Costner and Diane Lane, not realistic.
Not hard to believe.
Whoa.
And in the comics, he slouches. That's how he's unremarkable. He slouches.
And he just looks like a lumbering oaf, which is kind of cool.
Here he didn't have many oafish qualities.
Well, we had more subterfuge Clark Kent before we had like oafy reporter Clark Kent. So
sure.
Yeah.
You had Smallville Clark Kent that didn't need to blend in because Superman wasn't established.
And Smallville's unremarkable.
There you go.
But now I guess it's markable. Remarkable.
Why'd we pick it?
Well, it's topical. It's Superman. It's the start of the DCEU, technically. We all feel different ways about this movie. Yeah. And I think that always leads to good discussion. It's definitely, compared to last week's movie, it's leaps and bounds better.
Yeah.
Pun intended. But, I mean, so it's kind of funny that we're at the stage where the movies 1 week will be complete garbage and the next week will be, moderately okay, or something that could use some work, or even something that somebody might love. But
at this like 50 to 60 range, it's all going to be kind of toss-up movies.
That's good, though. I think that's interesting and engaging, like you said.
For sure. And Josh, I know you're a huge Superman fan with the comics and everything. Max, I believe you also.
Yeah, I like me some Superman.
I know you're a big DC
I'm
general.
DC boy.
So I have no comic
DC boys.
experience.
Hashtag DC boys.
Hashtag DC boys. To discuss Max being a DC boy, use hashtag DC boy.
DEECEE boy.
Yo, I really like DC, and my name is Max. All right, go ahead.
I said I have no comic experience, but I have read almost one trade. Is that what they're called? I read Red Sun. Max let me borrow it, and it's actually very good. I don't know why I never finished it. And then I bought.
Because you're busy.
I bought
All-Star Superman.
I bought All-Star Superman.
I thought it was Superman for all seasons.
That is another comic, though. Not this one, though.
Yeah.
It's not Paul for all seasons, right?
It's not Paul for all seasons.
You're thinking of the Golden Compass.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Anyways, Zack Snyder.
Yeah, it's Zack Snyder.
He took the reins of the DCU here.
Which he did it when he directed The Watchmen. And I have mixed feelings about The Watchmen, but he did a beautiful job. I love the movie. I love the comic book. It's just every time I read that, I get slightly depressed when I watch the movie.
I need to revisit the Watchmen film. I remember liking it when I saw it, but I haven't seen it since.
Yeah.
So it still has the same flavor. It's like he took everything he learned making that, and then when he took over for this, of course, Christopher Nolan had his hands as an executive producer from the get-go for this. So I can just say that I think he did a great job. He got a lot of flack for it, but whatever.
Well, I think Zack Snyder's a little controversial just in general because he's very visual and stylistic, and I've been very critical of him because I didn't like 300. Watchmen I'm not super fond of, and this I'm not super fond of. But if you want to have a unique voice for your cinematic universe, Zack Snyder's not a bad guy to drive it because he definitely has a very Zack Snyder style.
Yeah.
It'll be a little washed out. It'll be a little gritty.
Mm-hmm.
We could have picked a couple other films.
Yeah, good line here.
Top Gun.
Really?
That was a tough.
The sequel's coming out. They're talking about the sequel now.
Called Top Gun Maverick.
I heard Val Kilmer really wants to be in the sequel, but they haven't confirmed it.
He needs to lose a little bit of weight.
Damn.
Whatever. He could be like a
high-ranking
person, and he could just be retired from like active duty.
Put him in a wheelchair.
Are we supposed to believe Tom Cruise is still like piloting?
Sure, he can do anything.
He's gonna be like hanging on the side of a plane the whole time.
They could do the Christopher Lee thing that they did with, I guess it was Star Wars, where they take Val Kilmer's face and put it on a younger, handsomer body.
They did do that at some points in Star Wars. That's true. Step Brothers.
I love Step Brothers.
Same.
I haven't seen it since I was in high school, but
I've only seen it once, but I enjoyed it.
I've seen it at least twice within the last whenever it came out. But it's good, man. I mean, it's funny. Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly. You have Adam Scott as the bully brother.
And he's amazing.
Yeah. The whole Catalina wine mixer sequence is just phenomenal. So
yeah, that's the ending, correct?
Yeah.
I thought it held up to the hype because I was one of the last people to see it. I think I saw it like 2 years after it came out.
Yeah.
And I was not looking forward to it, and the whole time I was just smiling and laughing.
Yeah.
Hell, I could imagine you probably watched it at one point with me and Paul. I don't know.
That might have been the one time I watched it. Yeah.
But
I think it's funny to see Step Brothers and know that it's directed by the guy who did The Big Short, which is a very mature, incredibly well done movie as well. But that mind,
that's
Adam McKay.
Adam McKay. Yeah.
You talking about Biggie Shorty?
Biggie Shorty. Yeah.
Wanda Sykes. She had her own movie.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. The Bourne Legacy. It's a sequel.
No thanks.
Never bothered.
No thanks.
That's the
Is it a
non-Matt
sequel
Damon
or
one.
a prequel?
It's a quel. Some kind of quel.
Peter
Either
Quill.
a pre or a C.
Peter
What
Quill.
happens if it's a film that takes place at the same time but isn't a sequel or a prequel?
That's a simultanequel.
Okay.
That's good. I
Add
like the way
to
that sounded.
Lexicon. Say it again.
Simultanequel.
Simultanequel.
I can't say that. Simultanequal.
There you go.
There you go. It's also a medicine that might cause diarrhea.
I was gonna say it helps you sleep too.
Yeah. The Company You Keep.
That's a movie?
This was, I believe, a Robert Redford direct. It might even be the last one Robert Redford directed.
Is he dead?
No, but I don't think he's directed
He's
anything
just tired.
since then.
He should be.
Yeah, Robert Redford, Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
Susan Sarandon.
If we're being real, the only reason it was on our list was because of Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
Do it.
And then Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps.
The sequel with Shia LaBeouf, right?
With Shia LaBeouf. I don't know why it's so low because I watched it recently and I really liked it.
Yeah. I've never seen it.
It's
Max.
nuts. It's chaotic.
Max, I watched about 20 minutes and then I was done.
Nice. Nice.
So don't bother unless you're drunk.
Unless you're in the Wall Street fan club.
Just like me.
Are you a bear or a bull? Is that what it is?
Wow,
is that what
that's
it is?
a personal question, Josh.
Yeah, I can't answer that on air.
Isn't it a bull market and a bear market? Is that right?
That is.
Yeah.
That is.
I don't know
I
which
got
is
it.
which,
All
though.
right, sweet.
I feel like a bull is good and a bear is bad.
Sure. I think
Sure.
maybe that's right.
Watch Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps, and you'll find out.
All right.
Man of Steel did pretty darn good at the box office.
Mhm. It did.
Had a budget of $225 million, which I feel like is pretty par for the course for these superhero movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman had a slightly smaller budget, but
Of course.
BVS and Suicide Squad were right around there. Man of Steel opened at $116.6 million, including myself.
Yeah,
that
me
opening
too.
Weekend.
Me too. I was there.
I don't know, 3 for 3.
I didn't wear my cape though.
Oh, well. Its total domestic run was $291 million. And worldwide, it made like 500 to 600. What's interesting is it's the lowest grossing and opening movie of the entire DC extended universe. I did not count Wonder Woman because it's still coming out. Though Wonder Woman opened lower than Man of Steel.
Yeah.
But I think it's on pace to do better domestically.
It has legs.
Mm-hmm. But BVS and Suicide Squad both did much better.
Yeah. To tell you the lasso of truth, I think is gonna pay off. I think they did it really well in the movie. I'm sidebarring real quick for you.
Real
Quick.
Well, we can just get into it if we want.
Into Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, like we said, directed by Snyder.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Did he write it too, or did David Goyer write it?
David S. Goyer.
David S. Goyer.
With the story co-written by Christopher Nolan.
No.
But yeah, David S. Goyer did the screenplay. It was the cinematography is done by Amir Mokri. And I was paying attention to a lot of the shots yesterday because I actually enjoyed quite a few of the visuals that weren't like battle stuff, just like story stuff.
Yeah.
And he's had a pretty like weird, random filmography here.
Jeez.
So with
We're
stuff
looking
like
at it now.
House of the Rising Sun, Pacific Heights,
Coyote Ugly.
Coyote Ugly, The Joy Luck Club. So I remember there's a lot of dramas here, and then you jump in with like Bad Boys 2.
Yeah,
National
that was
Treasure,
good.
Book of Secrets.
Beautifully.
Fast and Furious, Season of the Witch, some Transformers. Then you have this stuff.
Pixels.
Pixels. Just a strange cinematography.
That is a really weird.
But his visuals for the like story focus, the dramatic stuff, really worked for me in this film.
Oh yeah.
So I just had to point that out. The battle stuff, it's hit or miss. But
The battle stuff was just kind of like a jumble of
the
just
final
things
battle,
CGI flying across the screen.
Computer generated superheroes.
yeah, CGS.
Yeah.
I found
CGI.
myself enjoying the central battle in the plot more so than the final battle. More.
Yeah.
I did too.
And I think having that much destruction either or, you should have stuck with one, and the other one should have been no destruction or less destruction.
Yeah.
That's for the greater discussion there, is just what I'm saying. We can get into the details now with wherever we want to start. What about this cast?
It's a good cast.
I thought it was amazing cast.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner as Jonathan Kent.
Mm-hmm.
That's expert casting. I think we can all
The lady
agree.
from Sunset, I forgot the name of her. Diane Lane. There we
Diane
go.
Lane. The beautiful
There we-
Diane Lane.
Yeah, the beautiful
Yes.
Diane Lane.
The beautiful
Still beautiful.
Amy Adams.
Yes, the redheaded Lois Lane. Beautiful.
Mhm. The beautiful Michael Shannon.
Oh
He
man,
kills it.
I love Michael Shannon, and I love him in here.
He's nuts.
Just
crazy eyes.
Knocking futz, dude.
That Caesar haircut.
And the little goatee. You have Laurence Fishburne.
Oh yeah, there was controversy when he was first, cast for that because there was the race change.
Yeah. Because people really grew up thinking, I want to look like Perry White or whatever his name is. Anyway.
The editor of the Daily Planet.
Yeah. Russell Crowe as Jor-El.
I originally thought that was controversial when I heard that. I was like, what? He's going to feature Orel?
I kind of love it.
His accent.
Yeah,
was
I
weird
love
to
it.
me.
Then you have some smaller roles. You have Antje Traue, who is Feora.
Oh, yeah, she was hot.
Then you have Ayelet Zurer,
Yeah,
who
she
was
hot.
what is Kal-El's mother's name?
Mama.
Laura. It's Laura.
Lara or Laura?
Laura. I think it's Laura.
Yeah, maybe it's Laura. Laura.
Laura L.
Then you had the beautiful Christopher Meloni, also known as Stabler from SVU.
Oh, there was Babbity Rabbity.
Yeah,
played
Babbity
the part of
Rabbity was in
Crypto.
here.
Crypto the dog.
Cameo.
And we didn't even mention Henry Cavill.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
in here. Yeah, he's very muscly.
You guys
Who
think
is
he's
he?
a good Clark?
Oh, that's Superman. Yeah.
I don't think we've seen enough Clark in this as the classic Clark to really say he's a good or bad Clark. I think as a mopey guy in the beginning, he handles that fine.
But between this and like BVS.
Is Clark in BVS?
Exactly.
Yeah, he was.
He's at the beginning. I liked him in the bathtub scene in BVS when he's like flirting with Lois and then he gets naked. But that's like the only Clark scene I remember.
Well,
there was
I
a
don't
couple
mean
other
just
ones.
as Clark. I mean as the whole character.
I mean, I get that.
Have you seen the Ultimate Edition of BVS?
Yeah, there's a little bit
Dawn
more
of
in
Justice.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit more. It's
He's
actually
cooking.
a better movie. I own it, and we watched it.
It's just way longer.
It's way longer, but it fills in those gaps that make the original film feel a little like, huh?
It's kind of like this one where I wish the climactic fight was like chopped into a 2-minute sequence instead of
15 to 20.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, no, I agree.
But yeah, I mean, really solid cast.
They all look the part.
Yeah, as far as like negatives go, the cast is fine.
There's no negatives with the cast.
Yeah. My favorite thing about the cast is that Superman's dads are both Robin Hood.
That's awesome. I never put that together.
Yeah. So you have 2 Robin Hoods as your dad. You're gonna be pretty cool, I guess, if that happens.
Yeah, I think you're gonna be pretty cool too.
You hit the bullseye with that one.
Let's jump into it.
Let's jump in.
We've been circling the drain.
We open on Krypton.
Yeah.
Dun, dun.
Josh, what do you think of the Krypton sequence?
I love the Krypton sequence. I love that they made it otherworldly for once. I mean, when they did the reboot in the comic books, they kind of tried to make Krypton seem more, I would say back in, I think it was 1986 when they relaunched the Man of Steel comic book. They kind of gave Krypton its own feel. And with this movie, I felt like they took it even further and they made it even more alien. They gave us the flying dragon mounts. They gave us the technology. You know, obviously they're supposed to be way advanced beyond us. Yeah. So the fact that everything's with hyperdrives and everything's flying, all the technology was just, I loved it. I know a lot of people gave it a lot of flack just because of the other how different it was and the unworldliness.
I knew some people who hated that opening. I find myself enjoying it, and with every rewatch, I kind of appreciate it more.
Yeah, it's
like
just
a mini
it's
movie,
beautiful.
Basically.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I love the details of the Krypton planet, like the weird robot metal presenter things. It's so weird, and I love it.
The technology, as Scott described last night, is kind of gross.
Yeah.
But I like that about it.
They're like making like
the ball bearings
things. Yeah, the ball bearings. Yeah. The one thing I think that people maybe don't like about that sequence is a lot of things happen and they're not explained until Clark finds the ship again.
Yeah.
And so I was asking questions, even though I've seen it, I was asking questions. I was like, what does the cryptex do? What is this? All this stuff. And the codex. They answer it all later, but it left me in the dark and trying to catch up for the first half hour.
Yeah, I watched it with Heather, and she did exactly what you did. She said, "What is this?" And I was like, "Well, this what happens. And it'll be explained later." And we kind of went over it. So,
do you think they should have compressed those 2 sequences?
I think
had this come in the center, or somehow explain it better in this part and just skip that second part.
I don't know, because I think the whole thing with the Arctic is a little bit messy. So I would try and rework it somehow, but I would have to think on exactly how. But I think you need that information.
They left you wanting a little bit more. I mean, in the first sequence, like I said, I could have watched so much more of the Krypton parts. Yeah. And when they explain it a little bit later, it's still great. And just the visuals, they pull a couple visuals when they describe the exploration. They pull it directly from the comic books, which is really cool. Even the statues of the explorers, you find that in his Fortress of Solitude, stuff like that. There's a lot of images that they put in there from the comics, which was actually really cool.
I think that's something Snyder's kind of known for doing, is taking images straight from the comics and recreating them. I know he did it a lot with Watchmen. So
yeah, like you mentioned with Kelex and the robots and stuff like that, they did have some similar robots in the comic books that helped out and did all this stuff. So I was happy with it. I liked the way they were presented. I love the fact that they had those creepy robot arms, the metal pieces, all of it. I thought it was great.
What if they had shown more of Krypton like at its height rather than just start with the destruction? Yeah. What if in the beginning they just showed the height of Krypton, then you go to the kid Clark, then he finds the ship, and then they go into the downfall. So as he's discovering the Codex and the ship and his dad's consciousness and all that, you see why it's important at the same time. I don't know.
At the same time, they already has a lot of flashback scenes when he's reminiscing in the beginning. So, I mean, that covers the young Clark. That covers all of his, discovering of his powers and stuff like that. So I think if they would have did more flashback scenes, I think it would have hurt the picture overall.
Yeah, because it's already not an incredibly cohesive beginning, because you get Rudy Clark, Kid Clark, Krypton. You get a little bit of everything.
For me, if I was going to change it, what I would do is, I didn't mind the whole like liquid metal explaining scene when I first saw it, but it kind of just felt redundant to me this time around. There's some stuff I liked in that sequence when he explained like going to different worlds and taking over. At one point in the film that's explained, and they show the Kryptonians actually doing that. That was cool. I like that. But I feel like maybe do like something like Scott was just saying, maybe have Jor-El discovering the world's going to end. The world is still fine at that point, but he hasn't done anything. Just a quick opener, go into the film, eventually cut back to the full conflict that happens with getting him out, and then just like keeping it minimal beyond that. That could have worked for me, but I do like how it opens with this weird sequence that you're just like, what the hell? And it kind of just, it draws you into like that there's more here.
Yeah, so I like with the whole natural birth too.
Yeah.
I mean, but that is from the comics, which is cool. I was very pleased with that.
I don't know. Like at this point, honestly, if the film really like, if they skip that liquid metal part, I would have probably just been fine with how this is.
The liquid metal storyboarding thing was critical, though, because that was how they explained all those things. And as someone who doesn't know any of them, it was the only thing that made the beginning tie together.
But what I say by skipping it is like doing all that
something different.
Exposition in there, working it into the actual first intro. Yeah. That'd be the only thing to change with that. So, but
you have to have that information there, but that's probably not the best way to show it.
Yeah. So
once again, I really enjoyed that he was a natural birth. That harks on a lot of things that he's, they're not allowed to have natural births, and everything's cloned from the Codex, and everything's done. They're specifically bred for one purpose, like whatever their job's going to be, whatever they're going to do. So the leaders are bred to lead. The general was obviously bred to be a soldier, and then the scientist, obviously Jor-El. And I love that they had a connection, that they knew each other well. And they had confided in each other, and that's probably another reason why Zod decided to stage this coup, to take over, to try and save the planet. But by that point, it's already too late.
Ship had sailed.
And I see that happening with Earth, actually. Where we're going, I see that happening with Earth. I wouldn't be surprised.
I do like the established relationships. I will say they felt pretty realized in the moment, where you could tell, because Michael Shannon and Russell Crowe were good at what they do, so they were able to kind of carry that they had some rapport. So I did like that. That was good.
And I think it aided the Clark or Superman versus Zod battle at the end.
Yeah.
Because then Zod's like, I've been bred since birth to be a soldier. You don't know how to use this power and stuff like that. And because of the relationship between the father, I think it hit home a little more.
Yeah.
And it also explains why he's able to adapt quicker to adjusting to the powers, and he knows what the heck to do. Yeah. He's born and bred for this.
# bred for this. So as we see, we have
Cuban bread.
We're overall, I would say, relatively positive on how this was. It's just, it can be confusing, and there's questions of whether or not it's the best spot for it, or if there's a better way to do it, I guess.
I would love a full Planet Krypton movie. I love that shit.
They're making a TV show. I don't know if it's based off this, but they are making a Krypton TV series.
That's amazing.
About,
I didn't know that.
Either Jor-El or Kal-El's grandfather, one of their grandfathers. So either Jor-El's dad or Jor-El's grandfather.
That's amazing.
So I don't know directly how much it'll tie to the end of the world, but
I do wish that while we're in Krypton, I know it was kind of always twilight, but there should have truly been a red hue to the sky, because the whole thing about the reason that they don't have superpowers is, they drink in the yellow sun, and so they have a red sun. That's the whole reason that they can't do these. And plus, there's a different thing when it comes to the atmosphere and the gravity and stuff like that. But when I was watching it this time, I just noticed for the first time, I was like, wait, they're supposed to have a red sun. Shouldn't everything have just a slight red tinge to it or something like that?
Yeah, I wonder how that would look. That is a question. Because the easy answer is red, but I wonder to what degree and how different it would look versus ours. You never know with light. So
I just want to say one other thing. I'm sorry, I don't mean to take over a lot, but the fact that Laura, she had a lot of faith in her husband, because she said, "Oh, hey, I believe him. I believe that the planet's going to end. I believe that we need to build a rocket ship, and let's put our only baby and send it off."
That's because she was bred to be a respectful wife. I'm kidding. That's terrible.
Hashtag Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
Well, didn't as they were about to ship Kal-El off, she was having some doubts about it. So
yeah, you could tell. You could tell. Yeah. Even when she presses the button and launches it after he had died, Michael Shannon was kind of testing her, and she still went through with it. So I was just like, wow. I was thinking about it since I'm about to be a father. I was like, wow. Yay. To just trust. Thank you. To just trust your
Would Heather
spouse.
Let you shoot the baby off in a rocket?
I think Heather would shoot the baby off in a rocket if we truly believe that this was going to happen.
That's cool.
Well, you did just say you think that's where we're headed. So.
That's true. I wrote a lot of notes. For the first time ever, I wrote notes. And they were scribbled in the dark. So I'm trying to...
Scribbled in the Dark's actually the name of my autobiography.
Scribbled in the... I would watch that. But they made it into a movie. Can I star in as you?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
We look alike.
I'll be Mickey. So from Krypton, we cut to both the present and the past, because it cuts to the present, but we keep going between Clark as an adult trying to find his way in the world and his childhood.
But it's all pre-Superman.
Pre-Superman. Yeah, pre-suit.
So we have our baby Clark getting bullied and wanting to fight back, but he can't. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the strengths and one of the areas that the movie could really do better is with Pa Kent's relationship with him. They toy on so many of the moral quandaries that the character needs to have, but they never quite deliver for me.
Yeah.
Like, I think the first scene we see of Clark is their bus goes off the road. He pulls it out of the river, saves the bully and all that. And then
hashtag Dick Splash.
Dick Splash.
Hashtag Dick Splash.
Yep.
Then
foreshadowing.
Back at the Kent estate, the bully's mom is like, that was an act of God. That was providence, I think is what she said.
And she was basically scared and angry about the whole thing,
Which is fair. A kid just lifted a bus out of a river.
Yeah.
So then Pa Kent and Clark are talking, and at one point Clark was like, what am I supposed to do, let him die? And then after a few seconds, Pa was just like, maybe.
Yeah, I love that.
And I love that.
Yeah.
To protect his son,
Yeah.
They're focusing on...
They do such a good job starting with that line, that plot thread of like Pa Kent just being hesitant to let him like fully realize who he is and what he can do, because it shows like a lot of danger that can go into their family life and what could happen to him. So it's what I feel like a protective father would do if your kid was an alien. But I think, and me and Scott kind of mentioned this last night, like one more flashback or sequence showing Pa Kent being like, you can be a hero, would have like been really inspirational, almost like him changing his mind at some point.
Mm-hmm. Before he got tornadoed away.
Before he got tornadoed away, could have been like really, really good for the plot and for Superman's motivation. Yeah, basically.
Speaking of tornadoed away, I personally don't like that scene at all.
That's the only part of the movie I did not like.
Yeah.
It's just it's very dramatic, and I mean it's supposed to be, but the way it's done is so. With Clark just watching, I guess the idea is we're supposed to say, oh, he got his dad's lesson. He's not supposed to save him. But his dad just standing there, like, shaking his head for, like, 6 seconds.
Yeah, he could have ran over there, flash style, grabbed him, and came back.
Before anyone saw him.
Yeah.
So
I did love the beginning scene where they're fighting, and he's talking about, he basically says what every probably adopted person would say is, you're not my real dad.
Yeah.
And that made it even more dramatic and made it harder for, a couple minutes later he actually loses his only father figure. So I thought that was, I liked that again when I saw it the second time, but I don't like the tornado away.
I think it should have, even if it's tornado or whatever, it should have all happened in a flash.
Yeah.
Like Clark gets his mom out, and by the time he turns around, all the cars are gone or something. So there's not this 6-second lingering thought.
Instead of going for the dramatic moment, go for the realistic moment.
Yeah, like instead of the dramatic Pa Kent's going back in for the dog, when you have a superhero alien there who could do it with no...
Or, I mean, you could have Clark have to pick mom or dad, or like there's a kid, like a baby stuck under something. I mean, you could have really made it like stronger where he's actively moving. Having him watch, it's supposed to make, I think, you feel as helpless as he does.
Yeah.
But it just feels exploitive.
It feels exploitive because you know he's not helpless.
Yeah, exactly.
I do love his scream. I'll tell you, every time that he does his scream for when his father dies, my eyes tear up. I'll tell you the truth.
Really?
It's a very powerful, like his scream. I don't care for the tornado away.
Yeah.
But when he screams and he's like,
it's very guttural. It's a good scream. The only thing I don't like is whenever Clark has to show anguish, all he does is just scream at the top of his lungs. It's then and then after he kills Zod, he does the exact same thing.
Here be
he doesn't
spoilers.
kill him. He doesn't kill him.
He kills him.
What?
He murders him.
Oh. After he murders
Cold-blooded
Zod. So when we're flashing forward to adult Kent, he's just kind of a drifter.
Mm-hmm.
He's working on a fisherman's boat. He's working at a bar.
I'm trying to sing the song. I don't know what the song is.
I don't think either of us do.
I'm confused.
He's working at a bar, and then he's in the Arctic.
Bar. Yeah. I think he's working his way up like the Pacific Coast or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe the East Coast. I couldn't really tell.
Yeah,
but he's working his way up a coast, just wandering, and he catches hints from some military dudes that there's something going on in the Arctic, and they mention a UFO basically. Now, we do at this point reveal that like his dad's showing him his UFO from his childhood, that he came in, he finds out a bunch of stuff, including the little S USB drive, the Hope drive.
First of all, he did 3D print that, by the way.
Yeah. It's technology, man.
Made it more real.
But yeah, so he's wandering. He's like, okay. You hear him listening to the military dudes. Then he throws a flatbed truck through the what it's carrying and some electricity wire poles. Makes a mess of some dude's truck because he's a sexist pig.
Yeah.
And then he goes up north, man.
Yeah, and he's in the Arctic, hanging out with Lois Lane.
Yeah, they explained this part later that he had falsified documents.
I was wondering how he got onto that helicopter. Joe.
It was weird. I feel like, and that's kind of the irritating thing with this movie is there's little things like that could be clearer by having the line earlier.
Yeah,
and that happens like a couple times throughout the film, but there's just like one line that would fix something by moving it 2 minutes beforehand.
Either that or just like visually show it.
Yeah,
like show him as he's leaving the truck stop or something. Has a guy he's getting sketchy papers from. We can put that together.
Yeah. Have a name badge that says Joe afterwards. Yeah. Like it's super simple ways you could do it, but he steals
the clothes. I mean, it could have been something stupid like that, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Just like grab a passport from that trunk.
Yeah, but I mean, there's this sequence kind of strange, the Arctic sequence, because I do like the introduction of Lois Lane and that she just decides to do things on her own because it's very Lois.
She don't care.
But then at the same time, you had some issues that you pointed out with the Arctic sequence.
Well, so for whatever reason, they don't explain why he's there, and you think he's just drifting along. And then when Lois does her exploring, he's heat visioning his way straight to the Krypton ship, and
Kryptonian.
Yeah, there's like there's nothing to that reveal. There's no build up. There's no I need to find my people. There's no like I'm feeling this calling to the Arctic for this reason. It's just boom, there's the ship. He walks onto it, and that's that.
And you had asked if maybe he was like called to it, which they don't ever reveal if he was. Yeah. I interpret it more as he's wandering, trying to find purpose, and this is the purpose he finds. But either way, that's not explained fully. So I mean, that is an issue for sure.
But even through wandering to get to that ship, he had to heat ray his way through probably
blocks and blocks of ice.
feet of of ice. So.
I mean, to get to the north, I figured he was just wandering.
I could accept that.
Yeah.
But.
But then to get to the ship, I just assumed they had mentioned they thought it was like a frozen submarine at some point, but it still wasn't said
Soviet.
Like he's trying to find it. He just knew that the ice was 20,000 years old.
Yeah.
There's little pieces there, and once again, one line, two lines, one shot could have probably made that stronger.
Yep.
And if you miss the part in the bar when those soldiers are talking about it, it just jumps ahead, and then you would totally be like, "What?
Yeah,
what's happening?"
And it seems like a throwaway line that those soldiers are talking about it too. But.
I just imagine Paul Clay in Navy.
It's just the same thing, yeah. He found UFOs all the time in Navy.
In Navy.
So then he goes into this old Kryptonian ship.
Plugs his dad in.
Plugs his USB dad in.
Yeah.
The machine stops attacking him.
Yeah.
That was
Once
about to
he puts
attack
it
him.
in, yeah.
And then he wanders off. He finds his dad, and Lois comes in, and then she gets machine attacked.
Yep.
Yes. I did like that, though. I'd love that. When I first watched it the first time, when she met him face to face without any disguise, I was so angry. And then as I realized, I was like, oh, okay, it made sense later on.
I do think Lois is smart enough to figure out who he is, and that's a good character thing. To
that
just
was
abandon the costume for her, like that whole idea.
Yeah.
Because it skips a whole plot line that is probably overdone by this point. The Superman, who's Clark Kent thing. I'm fine with her not having that. So that
she's
was
an
okay
investigative reporter. She's smart. She
it adds
would
a lot
figure
of
that out.
power to Lois.
Exactly.
It makes her seem, especially because later there's a scene where, like, this is the very end of the movie where Superman throws this drone onto the ground, and these military guys are like, "That was $10 million." And he's like, "You can't use this to try and figure out my identity."
Yeah.
And Lois spent like 2 days tracking him down and figured out his identity.
Yeah.
But
Probably
the entirety of the
$1,000.
military intelligence. Yeah. So that was a little funny to me. But it does definitely add to Lois's strength as a character. One thing I didn't like here, after saving Lois, he just walks out in the suit.
Well, the ship flies off.
Oh, yeah. It went
and
to a
then
different
his
place.
dad tells him the background of everything.
Yeah.
Then it reveals the costume that's very similar to the one Jor-El was wearing, just with a cape added.
I'll tell you the truth.
Jor-El's
The color of it, too. That was
the color's brighter, which is weird for a Snyder movie to say that. But
when Jor-El first of all told him his name, his Henry Cavill's just like excitement for learning I'm Cal was so genuine. It just made me so happy, and I was just smiling ear to ear. He was like Kal-El, and the fact that they threw it around just as Cal as his first name, which everybody always just says Kal-El, Jor-El. The fact that they used Cal itself and his excitement to find out his true name was just, I loved it.
Do you think Jor-El ever just goes by Jor?
I think so.
What up, Jor?
What up, Jor?
Yo, Jor and Laura. How's little Cal?
But yeah, so this is the sequence we mentioned earlier where they show like liquid metal background story, and they explain everything. There's some clips of Kryptonians taking over different planets and terraforming. What this reminded me a lot of, and I pointed out to you, and I say the whole film is this basically, is the first chapter of Dragon Ball Z where the Saiyans show up.
Yeah.
And first he meets like maybe his brother Raditz, and then Vegeta shows up with Nappa, and they get into this huge fight. A lot of this reminds me of that. So much of it. The Superman and Goku, they're almost the same character persona-wise, but it makes me kind of like the movie more when I think of it as, oh, this would be amazing as DBZ.
But you're gonna do that recut, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna do the DBZ recut. But so much of it with like Goku's dad and all that, and Jor-El, like obviously, the Dragon Ball Z writer creator had some inspiration from Superman himself. So it's just this movie kind of pointed that out more to me, so I appreciated it some.
So I want to ask you guys a question. This is how I interpreted the suit being there. Obviously, the ship had been there when he put in the 3D printed key from his father. Obviously, it had his consciousness. It had everything he wanted to tell him on there. It could do anything that he needed to do. Was the suit there and it was like 3D printed? Was it there? Was it colored? He knew that he was going to be a god. He knew that his son could be powerful and looked at. So do you think that the suit was just there waiting, or you think that it was created by the ship according to Jor-El's specifications?
That's a good question. I assume more the second part with it's created.
Yeah,
but,
that's what I assumed.
I assumed it was a Jor-El thing.
Yeah, since that's the only thing we're given is that his consciousness is in this, and it starts making things happen.
Yep.
That's like the only logical conclusion for me.
And this ship was like 20,000 years old, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be crazy if that suit happened to be there, and the Hope signal, was that an L family thing? Because Zod has
sigil.
a different one. Yeah, so why would their family sigil be on a suit in here?
The only way I could see that working is if they had generic suits there and it like slapped it on it, but they'd have to show that for me to buy that. Without saying it, I feel like the Jor-El one works better, the consciousness. So, but yeah, then he dons his costume and learns how to use his powers.
Yeah, I felt like there could have been more fanfare for the costume, but
I
really like the shots of him walking out and the close-ups of the cape and like the Arctic floor. I really like all that, so that part worked for me
visually,
also.
for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if a lot of people are aware of, but the majority of his cape shots were all CG.
Makes
so
sense.
I remember hearing that when they were
flowing
making it, and I got so angry. But then when you look at beautiful shots like that when he's walking out, it's just perfect. You know, just the way it flows in the wind and everything like that. And I immediately just loved it.
Yeah.
It reminded me of when they first released the teaser for Man of Steel. Like I got goosebumps at the whole thing.
Yeah.
When he breaks the sound barrier, you know, when he sonic booms. Yeah. Awesome. And it's very reminiscent of right around then.
That teaser is probably my favorite trailer of all time.
Yeah.
Like they released two, one with Crow's voice and one with Costner.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was a good touch.
But it was the same visuals and stuff.
Yeah.
It was really cool, man.
That's good stuff.
It's what got me so excited.
I do love that he started off, of course, not flying. I mean, in the comic books, he couldn't fly. So when he first started off, he would leap and he would jump. And then they kind of did that and they paid some homage to that there. Or, excuse me, homage. They paid some homage. Homage du fromage.
They paid some hummus.
Mm.
But yeah, so he learns to fly. He cuts the top off a mountain by accident.
It happened.
He flies to Africa.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the smoking gun on the Kryptonian ship. They showed the open pod. They showed the dead person who had went to Earth and had been stuck. You know, he ran out of resources or whatever, and he died. And then they showed the open one, and there was always rumors that's his cousin, Kara. That's his cousin. That's Supergirl. Because, of course, Jor-El's brother, well, I don't know if he had an actual brother, but someone who's related to him, I forgot his name. He believed his brother and Krypton was going to be destroyed. So he sent off on his own rocket ship his daughter, which turns out to be, you know,
she's
actually a little bit older.
Just a family thing.
Correct.
Yeah. Kara Zor-El.
Zor-El, that's right. Yeah. Zor-El. That's the difference. Sorry, I got distracted just because I read so many articles when the movie came out about the smoking gun, they called it, when they showed that little crypt pod open.
I never heard
read about that too. I wonder if they'll bring that in like Man of Steel 2, which has been announced, but they're doing Batgirl. They're expanding some of the families. So.
I'd be down if it was.
But they do have the Supergirl show.
People
so
like
it.
Weird. Yeah.
People love it.
But
so we see, Superman is now a thing, and he doesn't get to do much heroing. He goes and Lois Lane has discovered who he is by this point, and she confronts Ma
Kent. Back in
Kent.
Smallville.
Yeah. And then he shows up in normal clothes and is just like, hey, what's up? Why are you stalking me? Why are you so obsessed with me?
I'll disappear again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she wrote this whole story and she wants to push it out, and then she decides, no, I'm not gonna.
She doesn't decide.
Well, Perry says he's not, but then when she confronts the Kents, she's like, I don't want to push it anymore. Like, I've dropped everything. Yeah. And then Perry's like, what's wrong with you dropping something? Like, I don't trust you even more now.
And then he's
so now I believe you.
Yeah, now I believe you're dropping this, you're done.
Yeah. I believe you, but I'm suspending you. So
I love the way she linked it to the online, rumor site. I thought that was really cool because that makes a lot of sense nowadays, even more.
I like
with
how
Snowden.
Slimy and shitty the guy looked too. He just looked like a hipster douchebag in the best way that you could get that.
And then in the later news broadcast, he's just like, Lois Lane knows all about this. He gave her up and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's amazing. I thought it was great because that made it even more real because I see that actually happening. I see that happening now with Well, I don't want to talk about politics, but yeah.
It felt natural. It felt like how life would play out. Yeah. So it worked.
And I did love that they took her away. The FBI does take her away, and you don't see her again until Clark asks to see her.
Yeah.
He wants to see her. That's the only way he'll surrender himself and talk to them. So we don't know what happens to her, whether they're waterboarding her. We don't know if they're doing, torturing her.
Yeah.
So it's kind of amazing, and he helps save her.
Yeah. And the reason he does that is because all of a sudden a unidentified flying object shows up in the sky.
Yes.
TV signals are taken over all across the world. Some creepy, cool experimental student art film shows up announcing the arrival of aliens.
It was incredibly creepy.
Yeah, no, it was. When they showed the face like zooming in and out, it was like Max Headroom on acid or something.
So horror. It had such a horror element to it.
Yeah. Which was cool. And the voice, Michael Shannon speaking, was really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
I love the fact that they showed all across the country, and it was translated to whatever it was.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so advanced that they would know exactly what to do and how to broadcast that signal all over the world.
Yeah, it adds some good tech there. Once again, they're so technologically advanced. It's just awesome.
But Todd's basically like, hey, there's an alien on your planet. He better come to us or else.
We'll leave you alone if you turn him over.
Yeah. So
trustworthy.
Superman goes to, was it like Area 51? I don't know where they were.
You could just assume it was one of the many military bases in the Western United States.
Can we talk about the priest scene? The priest scene when he goes to the church?
What'd you think about that?
I loved it because whoever was the priest did a great job, because he goes in and he wants to confess that, I'm this person that they're looking for. Should I turn myself over? And you could see the priest kind of gulps until he starts sweating, and he's like, well, sometimes you have to give a leap of faith, and all that whole scene really was really good to me. And it kind of played on the whole Jesus Messiah that they always say that Superman has,
Yeah, and
I think I liked the scene. I didn't hate it or anything. I think it would have worked stronger for me if they did a full tie back to optimism towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have been a really super powerful scene for me. Yeah. I think it worked well to get him to be motivated to do the right thing. But
sure.
And Jor-El had mentioned on Krypton, they were they're going to ostracize him, he's going to be a freak or something. He's like, he'll be a god.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was William Fichtner.
Yeah,
from Fitchner, however you say it. He's the bank manager / mafia guy in The Dark Knight who opens up with the shotgun.
He's also Shredder in TMNT.
Yeah, he's also Shredder. Schrader.
He was in there?
He's Schrader.
Yeah, Schrader.
He was in there? He was in Man of Steel?
No, I thought the priest was him, but it wasn't.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't even think it looked very much like him.
In one shot it did.
A younger version.
Like Billy Fichtner.
I'm just saying.
So from here, Superman, speaking of sayings...
he does go to Area 51 or wherever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of thought it was Salt Lake City just from the fact that it looked like it was all the flat plains. I couldn't really tell.
I thought Salt Lake City was in the mountains.
So, I don't know.
He turns himself in. They handcuff him. They take him into a building. He walks and he sits down in an interrogation room. Lois Lane. There.
Yeah.
And
she was like, you let them handcuff you?
And she's flirting right away, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's very reminiscent of the scene where the Joker and Batman are in the interrogation room. I want some memes made from those two, cutting those two together. I think it would be awesome.
That would be good.
It's probably the same set, to tell you the truth.
Maybe. So I like the scene, though, a lot. I like that Superman's just kind of he easily displays how all of this is pageantry for humans, not for him.
Yeah.
He's just he separates his hands and the handcuffs break, and he's talking directly through the wall to the people with his X-ray vision. It's cool. And it also shows them that they're way in over their heads.
Yeah.
Trying to do anything towards this.
They feel control because they're the military and stuff, but he just is not really.
You can't control me.
He could cut through there like a hot knife through butter, and that's I really like how they did that. I mean, it's awesome.
I look the whole "you can't control me, but I'm not your enemy" thing was just it's great. It shows that that's how we truly should work as a nation. Is just because we can't control someone doesn't mean these people are our enemy.
Yeah. Superman. There you go.
And she almost says Superman. They don't say Superman until a lot later, and she says, "What is the S for?"
What'd you think about that?
I liked it because she was originally the person who's always named him. Yeah. She was the one who said,
"That's cool."
Superman. So when she says "soup," and then it cuts in with Hamilton, I think, which he's in the comic book works in Star Labs and helps him out and gives him like all this stuff. It's ridiculous, like new suits and stuff like that. But anyway, I did like that. And then later on, one of the military guys says something about Superman. That's what we're calling the extraterrestrial or whatever. And that's during the fight later on. So So anyway.
Yeah, but then from here, he's basically like, yeah, I'll turn myself in, and you guys can give me to the aliens because it's the right thing to do.
Yep.
So they meet out again in Salt Lake City desert, and the aliens land
in the mountains.
in the mountains of the flatlands of the desert, whatever it is. But they show up. Yep. They demand Lois Lane too. They take him.
They take both of them.
They're
actually very polite to Lois. They're like, Lois, you're a human. You're not going to handle the atmosphere too well. Put this on.
Put this breather on.
Then when they get up there, Clark collapses, and they're just like, hey, man, you got to get used to it, brother. I don't know what to tell you.
If you can't make it, you can't make it.
What I think with that is just like, if you showed up to someone's house and you were trying to intimidate them, you might not mess with their dog. Is how they're seeing it. You know, they're like, this is like a pet. Who cares about her? Let's just give her a breathing mask. And then with him, they're like, you have to learn how we learn because you're equal to us.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. When they tried to take her, when I forgot her name. What's the Kryptonian girl's name? Feora. When she says we're taking her too, everybody's like, that's not part of the deal.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit of silence, and then she decides, you know, if this will help save Earth, I will go. I thought that was really good.
That's a good
character.
Lois moment. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good Lois moment. She's like, I'll do what's best.
Yep.
So yeah, obviously they take the flying beetle from Krypton up into the main ship. They spit him out, and he has a little episode.
So this is kind of an interesting sequence. They have the Zod speaking to Clark /
Kal-El
Superman
inside his mind,
showing him, you know, like the farmhouse and telling him his plans to just remake Krypton, and he should be a part of it, or he should stand out of his way at least.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're in black costumes. They're talking. Yeah. It's kind of reminiscent of Terminator 2 for me with the explosions.
Yeah.
But then also
and the skulls.
Yeah.
Just skip ahead 30 seconds if you haven't seen Wonder Woman. They do a very similar scene in Wonder Woman with Ares showing her, like, redoing the world to get rid of humans at one point.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of... I don't know if Patty Jenkins did that on purpose at all, if that was like a tie back to them seeing, like, what could be as gods. They can get these choices, basically.
Kind of like a hummus to that part of the movie.
Yeah, like a hummus to that part.
Yeah.
But it's just... I don't know. I have mixed feelings on this sequence because some of it feels too
contrived.
Yeah, it's just like it works too well. Like she just gets off in a pod, the pod gets damaged, but like the plan is perfectly executed. I kind of like moments in it, like when he's like shoot there, that kind of worked for me, but
I don't think
Jor-El helps her escape. I thought that was fun.
I don't think it adds a lot to the movie though, this whole sequence, because it's 20 minutes that end up with just a fight on Earth.
Yeah.
And sure, the dream sequence maybe adds a little character depth. Her figuring out how the Phantom Drive works, that's important. But you could have done it in... I think the movie's too long. And I think this is one of the areas you could shrink it down.
I agree.
Just, I want to mention, speaking of too long, we're already at an hour and 10 minutes. That's longer than most of our episodes. So I just want to say it, so we might want to go less detail-oriented.
Wrap it up, B.
Second half of the movie.
Yeah, that was just the first half.
Yeah.
Second half's a big fight, though. So.
Yeah. But I just wanted to mention
I got you. Yeah. Yeah, so we have a big fight after this, like you just said.
Yeah, in Smallville, right?
In Smallville.
In Kansas. In Kansas.
For the most part, I like this fight. I like that it's multiple
this is definitely
parties.
The better fight.
Yeah, I like that the military is coming in on all of them, not just the bad guys.
Yeah, all aliens.
Yeah, and then... You know, it's a pretty long fight. They could tighten it up in theory, but it's a good fight overall. Like it's they show him saving people.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They show him
it's showing the military that he's the good guy. You know, they still don't trust him. They still shoot him. They're still trying to kill everybody, and then they finally decide towards the end of that fight that no, you know, he's on our side.
Yeah.
Because even still through all that, he saves the general there. So it shows like, okay, this really is a good dude.
Yeah.
What I thought was kind of funny was, you said it was Fioria? Was that her name?
Feora.
And whoever she was with were, like, definitely less mentally developed. Like, she was talking to people and, like, taunting people, and the other guy was just a faceless behemoth.
He's like, ew.
Yeah.
He played homage to hummus. He played hummus to back on what is it, Superman 2, the big guy who never talked. I forgot his name.
That is true.
Is that what I don't know what that is. So.
There's the 3 Kryptonian criminals in the old Superman series. One of them just never talked.
Oh.
So
well, there he is.
Yeah.
I do want to point out one thing that bugged me to hell about this scene is the product placement.
IHOP.
Oh,
IHOP,
yeah.
7-Eleven, and Sears all had multiple scenes. IHOP was like more developed than the Kent household.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I get it, but it's so obvious.
Yeah.
It bothered me.
Yeah, just don't zoom in
all
on
in a row,
much,
too.
You know?
Like all in that city.
I don't know.
That kind of stuff bugs me when it's so obvious.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
I agree. But yeah, so this sequence ends with...
I thought she had died in this sequence, but she didn't.
She
they
gets
came
like,
and recovered her.
Yeah.
The town is leveled.
Yeah. That's why I don't want to say Superman's successful, but he saves as many people as he can, and then he kind of defeats them for the moment, and they take off.
Yeah.
So
after the Smallville battle, I don't even remember.
The terraforming starts. That's when they start doing the terraforming.
Krypton ship lands. 2 of them do, don't they?
They split.
Yeah, they
it's
split.
like pieced together.
Yeah. Creates
Creates opposite poles on each other, and they start like gangbanging the Earth with energy.
Running a train.
Boom, boom,
on
boom. It's basically a rave in India and in Metropolis.
So basically, 10-second version. Metropolis is all but destroyed.
Yep.
They managed to defeat the bad guys by using Superman's original ship to create a phantom black hole, send them back to the Phantom Zone.
Yeah.
But Zod is not in that, and Superman and Zod have a huge fight.
And just on the terraforming thing, it's super reckless with the black hole. Like, it sucks up a bunch of Metropolis, too.
Yeah.
And then this all becomes points in BVS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, while BVS isn't the best execution, I do like that it carried over and addressed destruction. I think they could have done it way better. Yeah. But that's a different discussion.
It's interesting that BVS addresses that when it's the second movie in the universe, when Civil War was the one that really addressed it in Marvel, and it's like the 12th movie or whatever.
Yeah, but at the same time, when it first came out, everybody was so angry about the destruction that was done. And I think Zack Snyder said back then that this will all make sense. All the destruction will make sense later on, because he knew what was coming. Yeah. So I remember reading that specifically. Also,
and I mostly read 90s Superman growing up, but Metropolis took a beating all the time in the 90s. That thing was tore apart all the time. I remember there was one of my favorite comics was like, maybe it might have been either Superman 400 or some kind of annual issue, but like Metropolis is literally destroyed. The planet on the Daily Planet falls off and is like rolling, and the cover is like Lois Lane and like Jimmy Olsen running from the buildings getting destroyed behind them.
Temple of Doom
Superman's trying
style.
to stop it the whole time, but the city's still getting destroyed. So it's just like, for me, that was like a non-issue. Like, I was telling Scott this while we watched it, I wish they showed him like helping to rebuild the city at the end. Yeah. I think that would have been a really powerful Superman image if it's him like literally lifting up like new construction and helping just like 2 like blue collar workers, stuff like that. I think that really could have like nailed the Superman is a hero image. Yeah. But especially after all the destruction. But destruction itself isn't my issue. It's how long the sequence is.
Yeah, all the CGI.
CG section of the fight. Like, I could deal with the destruction because it makes sense that 2 gods are fighting and a black hole just went off in the city. Like, that part doesn't bother me as much.
What was people's problems with all the destruction? Was it like part of Superman's comic character that he would avoid collateral damage?
Yeah, people were just saying there was too much collateral damage. This was the first time he's second time he's fought with someone who's on par with him.
Have you ever heard of what they call like destruction porn, where it's like torture porn?
Oh, yeah.
It's just like these films that just unleash chaos and don't show the repercussions. I feel like that came into style, post 9/11, once we saw real world destruction in America. That it was like, oh, this can actually happen. And after a few years, when people kind of healed a little bit more, it came into every giant action film.
It's almost relatable because we've seen it.
Yeah, but now it's like they've done it so much that it's just not even relatable anymore because they're just over it. But I do think had they shown just a bit and not as much, like in Pacific Rim, they have that whole city fight and when they're fighting between the 2 buildings and they do the punch through the building.
Oh yeah.
Like that's like fun city violence, but they go out of their way to show that the city's evacuated.
Yeah.
You can start with the city full of people and then have it evacuated.
Yeah, Perry waited a long time to say, we need to get out of here.
Yeah.
And I'm just
There's
like, are you
beams
kidding me?
shooting through their building. He's like, we got to go.
Guys, I think there's something wrong here. But yeah, I mean,
it all builds up to the fight against Zod.
Yeah.
We mentioned earlier, I think all of us agree that it's about 10 to 15 minutes too long.
Yeah.
It should have been a lot shorter. There's interesting dynamic between them in the fight, but all the CG and stuff, I don't even pay attention.
And that's the thing is, like, I like how the fight starts where he's like rips off his armor and he's like, I can do this better than you.
I can do this.
Yeah. So that's cool. And then I like some of the, like you said, the dialogue exchange, some of those moments in at work.
The CGI isn't even like impressive though.
No.
It looks
It's just
like a
flashy.
video
It
game.
just goes boom, boom, boom. You don't even know what you're following.
When they first take off flying between the buildings in the city, it looked cool. The
when
CG
he was like
too
punching
bad.
him forward while flying, that was neat.
And then when they started ping-ponging off each other, it was like,
and beam-eyeing everything.
The only part of that fight that I did love, they crash land into one particular building, and Zod learns how to use his, I guess, heat vision. So he cuts the floor, and Superman just hovers, and his body's just like hovering.
Yeah.
And that's like my favorite part.
He fell like
that
an
fight.
inch, and then he caught
He's
himself flying.
I wish.
Yep, he caught himself.
My issue with that, I wish he was like standing upright while floating versus the belly float. He reminded me of one of those eagles you balance on your finger.
Yes.
That's what he looked like to me. So I liked it, but I felt it was kind of goofy, which also is a good thing. Why not? You know?
Yeah, I thought it was goofy, but I loved it. You know, belly floating.
The fight goes into like space at one point.
Yeah, they hit a
Wayne
Wayne Tech satellite is what they hit.
Yeah,
that's what made Bruce angry.
Yep, and then they of course go ahead and they crash land. Of course, at one point during the fight, he throws LexCorp. He gets thrown into a LexCorp, I guess, gas tank. A couple tractor trailers that are there. So then we crash land inside. I believe it is a train station.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It looked like Grand Central Station. To me.
Grand Metropolitan Station.
We're getting to the part that everybody
the big debatable part.
About.
We should have saved the whole episode just for this, but
so Superman kind of has Zod in a headlock, and he wants him to give up. I think
he's like, stop.
Yeah,
everybody's running except for this one family.
They get captured in the corner because he unleashes his heat vision and is coming closer and closer to them.
Yeah,
and
Heather called it eye blast.
The eye blast.
He's doing his eye blast.
The optic blast, like Cyclops.
Yeah, it's like Cyclops.
So he's just like, I'll never stop, like never, like literally, I'm never gonna stop doing this. I will destroy every human because my only job was to protect Krypton.
Yeah,
and you've taken that away from me, so I will never stop doing this. So Superman is like, I got one choice, and then he breaks his neck. He murders him.
Murders him. Thank you.
So what's the controversy here? What did you guys think of this scene?
Honestly,
Superman doesn't kill. Superman doesn't kill. That's what everybody said.
I feel like that's what every hero's thing is. They don't kill. Batman, Superman. That's actually it. But
yeah, but yeah, it's just like in this situation, I think, and there has been recorded things where Superman has killed, and I think Zod is one of the comic ones he has killed.
He has killed. A whole world was destroyed one time, and he changed his sigil on his chest from the yellow to a black in honor of all the deaths that happened.
Oh wow,
that's nice.
So
that's a nice moment.
But yeah, so I mean, he. People didn't like it. I was fine with it. It didn't bother me because he was literally about to kill 6 people. Like
yeah.
I think it adds nuance to the Superman character. How much he struggled over it with all the stuff with his dad, with Pa Kent and everything.
I think had you, like we said, we cut the fight in half or in 2/3, take a lot of it out. You could have had a couple more minutes to build out his regret. Show him giving back to the community. Show him like really mourning it more than just the scream. But
I love the scream though. I love every time
you love
he
the scream.
I think it's his jawbone. It's so defined.
There's a quivering jaw.
And his butt chin. He's got a good butt chin too.
Great butt chin
for sure.
But yeah, so it's. I don't know. What did you think as a non-comic reader?
I liked it because he was clearly torn over it. They showed that really well. This is probably the closest thing to an equal he's ever had.
Yeah.
He just had to kill him. It was someone who kind of wanted to work with him, but he knew he couldn't.
And it's also
he said he wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
He said he wouldn't stop until you die or I die.
Yeah.
And there's only one way for that to happen. So.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple moments afterwards. There's the confrontation with the military, like you mentioned, and then there's the Daily Planet sequence where she says, "Welcome to the planet."
I would love that. I love that.
I do like that part. It's goofy, but
it's good to be here.
It's a cute moment, and this film could have used a couple more cute moments, I'll say.
Well, I think it's interesting. A lot of these DC EU movies don't have like the humorous side that every Marvel movie has the same humorous tone to it.
Yeah.
Like I can't even maybe Winter Soldier or Civil War.
There's jokes in Winter Soldier, but they're towards like the beginning.
Yeah.
And then there's less.
Yeah.
Well, that was established with Iron Man. They started it with Iron Man. That was the true
Iron Man, Thor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that's what started the whole jokiness was that. No. And then it built upon that. So with this is the first beginning. So there's, it's darker. They're trying to be gritty.
Yeah, I don't think there's any problem with being jokey or taking yourself seriously.
Yeah.
But you just have to kind of manage the tone really well.
Yeah. And I think the DC films so far have managed better at being serious rather than being jokey, because there's like the joke in BVS that some people hate, which is the I thought she was with you line with Wonder Woman.
With Wonder Woman.
Where it's like, you knew she wasn't with him. Why'd you make that line? It's just in there just to have it in there. But,
well, I think the bigger problem with BVS is it is very serious and it still fails to deliver on a lot of those things.
Yeah, no,
like
and I agree on
Martha
that.
Stuff.
I think if they were
this
trying
is not
to,
that episode.
Yeah, that if you're trying to stick to serious, just stick to really good serious.
Yeah, like have a really good serious story.
Now, Wonder Woman was more serious, but it had moments of levity. It had jokes, and it worked a lot better than all the previous works. So
for sure.
Yeah, her innocence was awesome.
Yeah. Overall, I find myself watching it this time that I liked it as much as I did last time. I just the moments it's almost more frustrating every time I see it for the things I know that could make this a great comic movie or just like there.
Yeah, it just feels so close to being a really good complete story, and it feels so easy to make those changes that get it there for me. Because there are a lot of things that frustrate me. The whole first 45 minutes is very messy for me, and I just wish it was a little more coherent there in the storytelling. Because the visuals, we haven't touched the music. The music is
music
my
was
favorite.
great.
Music's amazing
in all the DC in all the superhero movies.
I was gonna say out of most comic book movies, I think I like this and I like The Dark Knight a lot, music wise, and I mean I've noticed some bits here and there, and I don't know. Like Guardians always has amazing music because it's Guardians, but it's the soundtrack,
Yeah, of course.
But like the score for Superman is just great.
I'll tell you that we didn't touch upon the one subject I wanted to mention was he lost his super underwear. This was the first time he lost his super underwear. They nixed it.
Him and Batman don't have super underwear, right?
No, they don't.
Yeah.
And that was based off on the whole strongman. Back when Superman was created, that was the costume. Was the strongman had the underwear and the tights, and to show that he was pure masculinity.
Speaking of that, this is really random. One of the first gay pornographers used strongman
costume.
There we go.
Well, models and muscle men to create like a gay magazine that was like secret because it was just out on the shelves. It was called something like Strongman, but he would like convince these muscle men to pose in these like skimpy like jungle men outfits and wrestler outfits, and comics literally like took that as like an example. I just find that
this is great.
It's like super amazing. Yeah, it's just funny. But
he was the first superhero, so he set the standard. So then everybody had the underwear after that because they were comparing him to him. So
I feel like the underwear has been dropped from most superhero costumes
recently. Yeah,
in the movies.
They should bring it back.
Who should have underwear back?
Honestly, don't know. Batman. Yeah, make Batman a little bit more lighthearted. Well, for Batman, it's funny. They say that they dropped the underwear on this one, but all the other movies have him in an all-black costume, so there's not underwear anywhere.
So exactly.
But Superman, I mean, it looked cooler, for sure. It looked more like...
I like the costume. I don't know.
Yeah, it looked just kind of manly and badass either way. I mean,
where does he keep the costume?
They didn't address that. Like, what is it? He's always in a phone booth and he changes.
What's that? What's a phone booth?
Exactly.
Yeah. He has an app for it.
Oh, okay.
Any other thoughts, boys?
There was the only other controversy I was going to bring out, which this could be cut until earlier in, is the fact that Superman was not mentioned in the title. That was very controversial. They were wondering if the movie would do as well, considering that Superman wasn't named in the title when they first announced it. and they think that could have been why it wasn't as popular, which is so stupid.
That's
but
It's
whatever.
hard to think that anyone would not know this is a Superman movie, though. You know, like even though Superman's not in the name, look at the poster, look at any.
It's like
media.
I wonder who's the person that reads titles without looking at images or videos of something. Like Man of Steel.
So it's like I heard a new Superman movie's coming out, but I don't see it in my listings.
Is this the Tin Man from the Wizard of Oz?
Yeah. Like, that's goofy. That is goofy.
The new Tin Man movie was no good.
Maybe that's
they were
from
in Kansas, but no Oz.
Maybe that's from Movie Phone when people would call in.
Yeah.
Like Man of Steel. I don't want to watch that. I don't know.
It's about robots.
Robots.
We don't want robots.
We don't want robots.
But Kelex was good. He was a good robot.
Is that the helper?
That's the name of from Krypton.
Cool.
I like Tequilex. Max, where can the good people find us?
Well, you can find us in the Phantom Zone, or you can go to thecriticalbreakdown.com. You can find me and Amy Adams heading up to the Arctic to look for UFOs, or you can find me at Max Rivera Film on Twitter.
You can find me and Diane Lane working at your local Sears, or you can find me at breakdown_Scott.
You can find me writing Haraka around Krypton, or you could look me up at joshuarivera.com, and I'll help you find your next home.
Nice.
Who does our art, Josh?
The art is done by me. Who does the music?
Jason Brown does our music.
Woo!
Yeah. Walter is the podcast dog. Crypto is the super dog.
There we go. Ta-da!
We're the podcast Men of Steel.
Next time on The Critical Breakdown.
We're watching The Mummy.
Rated 56% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Brendan Fraser?
Brendan Fraser. Gonna wrap that episode nice and tight.